Rachel, you're here. Okay, the link is working. I'm just getting things reset up because I had to shut everything down. So just bear with me. And I think that I don't think it was working for anyone. So it should be working now. Just hang tight, okay? We'll do things. Okay. Posted the new link. Are you able to resend it to your mailing list? I just haven't. I know it's really almost impossible to send. It's not great. It takes a while to resend an email. I don't know what the problem is because I use the exact same link unless it didn't copy properly in the email. Anyway, let me see. I'm so glad that you could at least check that out, Rachel. So let me just make sure that everyone in the group sees this. Give me a minute. Andrea's here, Santa's here. Okay, great. You guys found it. And I fear that people who were checking their email now don't have the right link. You know what, guys? Let me just see if I can send something out to the email really quick. Are you guys able to hang tight for like 2 minutes? I've got my chat box open. Yep. Rachel says, yep. I know you guys have got so much to do. We all do. So, but I feel so bad that some people might not get this. So let me just see if I can really quickly create something. And if you guys can just hang tight a minute, then we will for sure get started. Correct link for webinar. Next. Nope, I don't want that. Okay. So many technology issues these days, and I feel like everyone is just technologied right out. At least I am. Whoops. Here is the correct link for the webinar. Starting now. There we go. All right. One more minute, you guys. Thank you for being so patient. Next. Got my coffee. Getting the same message on my phone. Okay. Oh, People everywhere messaging me. Okay, guys, I'm just sending this now. And then we will get started. One more person messaging me. I posted on in the... Okay, guys. Andrea, you're still here. Rachel, you're still here. Santa, you're still here. I know I've got a few more people trying to find us. Okay. Let me share my screen, pull up the slides. Here we are. All right. We are Christina. Hi. We're starting a little bit late. Technical issues. I'm glad you could join and that you found the right link. And I'm pulling up my chat box, guys, so that we can talk. All right. Rachel, I can see you chatting. Santa, can you find your chat box? Because I'm going to be able to talk to you there. Andrea, Christina, same with you. I think there might be a few people just hopping on once they find the new link. Thanks for bumping that, Rachel. All right, guys, let's just start. And hopefully, Santa, yes, you're here. Yay! Christina, the tech difficulties allowed me to be here. Yay, okay. Yes, I'm here in potty training. All right, sometimes the tech issues are not the worst thing. It's stressful for me, but you know what? At least we have Facebook that will message and tell me that this is going on so we can recover. And I just hope people that were trying to get it on email will be able to grab that email. So anyway, let's start. Since you're here and you've been waiting, I'm actually going to turn my camera off so that I can just be a little bit more present with the slides and the information that we're going through. What else? You guys hopefully know me by now. My name is Jillian. You've seen me in the group. What are you guys like? What's your favorite thing to do with your daughter, or my daughter? What's your favorite thing to do with your kids in this weather? It is like 30 degrees here today in Toronto. So we have the sprinkler on, and she's got like a little wading pool, but she doesn't like to actually swim in it. So she's using the water in it to water all the flowers in our lawn. So yeah, Santa, you're potty training. What else are you guys doing today with your littles? Or are you not with your littles? Are you working? What's going on with you guys? Let me know in the comments while we get organized. Water table for sure. Yeah, we love our water table. I know, right? We don't even have a water table. I'm a little embarrassed about that, but she's got this little wading pool, and I feel like that will work for now. Yeah, I don't know. There's like so many toys we could get. We have a beach ball. It's kind of just figuring it out day by day. That's what I'm doing anyway. Santa, you're trying to potty train. We are doing that too right now. Yeah, that was harder than I thought. So good luck. Good luck. All right. I'm going to turn my camera off. Let's get started, guys. So, welcome. I'm so glad that you made it to the 3 critical concepts that you need to know to overcome anxiety. And that is, even when all of your efforts haven't worked, so that you can be the calm and confident, connected mother that you always thought you would be. Like I said as well, it's interactive, and I'm so glad that we've already been chatting in the comments. So as we go along, I'll keep an eye on the comments. I'm happy to answer questions and chat with you through the whole thing. There'll be a chance to answer questions at the end as well. But we have a small group, and oh yay, Anna made it. Okay, great. People are still joining with the new link. So I'm going to be watching the chat box through the whole thing. So just feel free to ask any questions or make any comments literally the whole way through. Okay. So I know it is hard, but I'm going to ask you to try to focus and try to see if you can block out distractions, and don't look at Facebook anymore for the hour. Put a do not disturb sign on your door, whatever you need to do. And I know that's not easy. Maybe you are watching this or listening to it while you have your littles there, and maybe you've got your cup of coffee in your hand and all the things. So do the best you can. I just want you to get the most out of this because I don't run it that often. And so I'm not sure if you saw this, but there is a stay to the end bonus, yay, which is called How to Not Be Angry Mom, a guide to managing anger, frustration, and blow up so you can show up as the mom you want to be. And so everything that I'm going to share with you today, I think is equally important and important in knowing how to overcome your anxiety. But I also know that a lot of the moms in this group struggle with blow-ups and frustration, which is really actually a symptom of anxiety, but sometimes we just need a quick Band-Aid and something that's helpful. So that's something that I created for you. And if you're here at the end, I'm going to post a link for that. So let me know, guys, can you post in the comments? Are you able to stay to the end? Let me know how you're doing for timing. I'm really going to try to keep this under an hour, okay? So hopefully, even though we started a little bit late, hopefully you guys can hang in there. So I have a promise for you. I'm going to show you how you can shift away from feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and anxious to feeling more in control and confident and calm with your kids, so that you can really start to be the mom that you know that you are deep down and show up the way you always thought that you would. 40 more minutes, Christina. Okay, I'll try to go fast. See if you can hang in. My promise is as well that I want you to know that you're going to discover why what you've been doing for a long time to not be anxious doesn't always work that well, or has even potentially been making you more anxious. And I'm going to walk you through what does work. So I want to invite you to close your eyes and really just imagine for a second being able to skip over all of the Googling, all of the trial and error that we spend so much time doing, and just be able to do what works for you. I know for me, when I learned the process that I'm going to share with you, it really changed my life. This is why I do what I do. It changes my clients' lives, and I know that it can for you as well. So this is why we're here. Before we go on, let me know if you guys can relate to this. Have you tried different things? And I'm watching the chat box, guys, so type and let me know. Have you tried different stuff to get rid of anxiety or to feel less stressed and less overwhelmed? You know, the apps, the yoga classes, deep breathing, and people still feel anxious. I can't tell you how many times so many of the moms that I work with are so frustrated, and they say, like, I do all of the things. I eat the proper food. I do my meditation. I do everything, and I still feel this way. Do you go online and research ways to get rid of anxiety? Maybe you've talked to your doctor about medication, but you don't want to take it, which I completely understand. That's another thing that a lot of moms tell me about. And have you ever thought that this is just the way that you will basically always have to live, that you are always going to have anxiety, or that I'm just an anxious person? Let me know in the comments. Does any of that sound familiar for you? Like, what is your sort of anxiety story? Definitely. Yeah. It's frustrating. And so this is why we're here, right? I want to help you sort of be able to sort through the information better. And this is the thing as well, is I want you to know that it is not your fault. If you said definitely, people are saying yes. I just want you to know that the reason is I get it, because I've been through it myself and I've seen moms go through it too. And it's really hard to know with all this information, who's right, who's wrong, what's to trust. And at the same time, you still are feeling like you want to do anything to get better. Yeah, my little one, somebody's saying my little one is 16 months old. Oh, such a sweet age. So I feel like the postpartum anxiety should be subsiding, but yeah, okay. So this is something that, Andrea, try to stick in if you can, because this is something that I really want you guys to know, is that society really makes it about postpartum and the hormones, and that, you know, our body should be better, but that's actually not how anxiety works. And this is what I'm going to try to clear up for you and help you to know, okay? That perception that we put on moms is just, it really irritates me. And like I said, this is why we're doing this. So thank you for sharing that, Andrea. So here's the thing. The real problem is that basically, I'm going to say, this is a big percentage, but 90% of approaches to treat anxiety are not effective for basically more than a few minutes or maybe a few days. And when you continue to research different options and try different things over and over again, it can actually make the problem worse. You actually become more anxious in that process, and it makes you feel more hopeless, and it makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. And I think when I hear comments like that about, you know, my postpartum anxiety should have subsided by now, like, that's where trying these things and hearing these messages from society makes us feel like something's wrong with us, and that's not true. So feel free, type yes in the comments if you feel like, you know, that makes sense. It's so frustrating. You are following what society tells you, maybe what your naturopath said, or what another mom who dealt with anxiety told you, or what you read online, and you're just going around in circles. It's not working, and you're feeling bad about yourself. It drives me crazy. It's so upsetting. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to share a personal story. When I was in my peak of anxiety, I was juggling a lot of balls in the air. I was working 2 jobs, trying to balance my family life, my relationship, and a lot of what I was dealing with was new to me. So I had a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know what I was doing with things. I wasn't confident in how things would turn out. And the more I didn't know, the more I worried. The busier I got, the more my self-care stuff fell off. And I know you guys can relate to that. I would start to skip my yoga class or not get to the gym. I would tell my therapist I couldn't come that week, and then my therapy fell off the radar. I stopped diffusing essential oils, listening to meditation apps. So it's like, and then I found myself with the physical symptoms of anxiety, right? I would have trouble falling asleep. Like, I was just wired and tired all the time. My stomach was hurting. I felt like just this constant buzzing, like I had 5 cups of coffee, even though I was still tired. And I know I did not have 5 cups of coffee. And then when I couldn't sleep, this is what this picture is me basically being up at night working or on Netflix or scrolling Instagram. Maybe I was researching about my insomnia or ways to get rid of anxiety, and I would find myself right back where I was before, in the depths of full-blown anxiety, where it was controlling my mind, my body, and my life. And all of my things, the things that I relied on, my therapy, my meditation apps, the books, they just weren't making me feel better anymore. I couldn't stick to them. Their effect was temporary. And as soon as I stopped, I just felt like I was drowning in anxiety again, searching for another solution. And then I felt like a failure. Like, why did I always come back to this place? Even though I felt like I had done everything that was supposed to do. And even though the problem was actually the things that I was doing and the way I was doing them, not me, I still felt broken. So let me know in the comments, does that sound familiar, this frustration and this sort of spinning in circles? I'm just checking the comments now, guys. Yeah, I assume the PPA would go away after a year. Yeah, it time doesn't just get rid of it. So Rachel, thank you for bringing that up. And I think that we are sort of just meant to feel like, okay, just persevere. And it's not the case. And then it's like, then we're like, what's wrong with us? And it just makes me so frustrated. So yeah, I feel like I'm so glad the right people are here today. We're all on the same page. So thanks for letting me know that. I'm so glad that you guys were able to get the right link. Okay, so let's keep going. And like I said, guys, here's another, I felt like I was so broken. Yeah, so many people said, you have to just relax. Like, yeah, really? Thanks for your advice. Like, you try to relax. It's so hard to do all of the self-care. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Here we are in the midst of a pandemic, and I feel like our group of moms is a sort of unique group because society and on the news, everyone's talking about anxiety that's really kicking up as a result of COVID. But this pandemic, I think, is just, it's almost like putting under a magnifying glass the issues that were already there for mothers, which is isolation, which is bodies that are broken and not enough support, and our minds sort of working in a certain way and not being able to know a different way, and not having the support that we need to learn or think a different way. So yeah, it's a challenging time. But I think that a lot of the challenges for us moms are the challenges that were sort of already there. They're just bigger now. I'm not sure if that makes sense for you. So here's the dream, the happy mom, happy baby dream that I had is, and I still do, and is that I sort of imagined that I would wake up with energy because I was able to quiet my mind and get some rest. And these are the things that I still get to experience a little bit more now. And I think this is the dream for all of us, right? At this point, that we'll be able to stop thinking about all of the bad things that might happen and replaying scenarios in our mind, and finally be able to just get out of our head so we can be present with our kids, that we can get rest when we actually do have the time, and that we're not sitting there thinking about things over and over, that our body will start to feel more calm, and that we just in general will feel more calm, will feel more in control of things, have less emotional ups and downs, and also that those ups and downs that we're having aren't affecting the people around us, because that just makes us feel guilty, right? Let me know, guys, are any of those scenarios, like which one of those resonates most with you, or maybe it's all of the above, or maybe it's a different one. So I've already told you this, but in case you don't know the details about me outside of being just this therapist that helps in the Zen Mamas group, so professionally, I worked in the mental health field for almost 20 years now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I started out in child welfare, actually, working with attachment and trauma, child trauma. It was very hard. And then I worked in the psychiatry unit at a world-class children's hospital doing therapy with parents and children. So I've really spent a lot of time in the trenches of mental health for kids and mental health for families, and sort of understanding where it comes from and what works to help and what just doesn't work. On the side, I started a health and wellness business through all of that, and I did nutrition and fitness coaching. I actually became a CrossFit coach and competed in CrossFit competitions. So I have all that side of it. And through my professional career, I've been trained by a lot of prominent people, which I'm sort of proud of. people like Dr. Dan Siegel. I'm not sure if you know who he is. I've trained with him a few times. He is the author of Parenting from the Inside Out, No Drama Discipline, 18 other books. If you haven't read his books on parenting, by the way, I highly, highly, highly recommend you do. The Whole Brain Child is probably one of my number one most recommended books for people. Dr. Zindel Siegel, I've trained with him. He is the creator of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which is, I'll tell you a little bit about later. But here's the other thing that I don't have on the slide that I'm just going to share with you. And that is that I've struggled with anxiety personally so badly that I developed insomnia. I suffered stomach aches that once had me hospitalized, and essentially broke my belief in myself. It was a really hard time. New motherhood was a huge challenge for me because I had to learn everything on very little sleep with very little support. And when I was at my most vulnerable during this time, I had to basically pull all of my skills and all of my knowledge together to make sure that my anxiety did not come back. So that was a major challenge. I still sometimes feel worried about things or notice that my thoughts are going in an unhealthy direction. But I know now what to do about it to make sure that doesn't turn into full-blown anxiety again. And I'll give you my little short bio. I am a clinical social worker, a psychotherapist, a registered holistic nutritionist, and a certified mindfulness teacher. I created Mother Zen Wellness and the group anxiety program, for those of you who don't know, called Braving Wild Motherhood. And so what I really do most of my time is support moms to overcome anxiety without taking medication if you don't want to, without spending tons of time in a medical office or having to change their lives in an unsustainable way. So that's me in a nutshell. And this is me, my little collage. And now I'm going to basically tell you about how I sort of got into the depths of anxiety. This was about 5 to 10 years ago, these pictures, when anxiety was at my peak. And so if you look at the pictures, I looked super functional on the outside. I was trying my best to show the world that I could do it all. So here you can see I got my master's degree. I was doing presentations at the Hospital for Sick Children on the connection between nutrition and mental health. I was doing presentations at another hospital at fertility conferences. I was competing. I was dragon boat racing in the nationals in Canada. So that was a Canadian national competition. Working, drinking my green smoothies, spending family time, doing all of the things. And so if you look at these pictures, it looks like I was, totally functional and had it all together. But inside, I was falling apart. I wasn't sleeping. I was on the go all the time. I literally could not slow down. I could not shut off my mind, even when I did have a chance. Yeah. So there you can see, trying to do everything perfectly, neglecting myself, and basically still feeling like I would mess things up or that something bad would happen. So here is the thing. There I was feeling overwhelmed, out of control, and ashamed. And I decided that wasn't going to happen anymore. I had to miss at one point my own mother's birthday because I was just so overwhelmed that I basically couldn't even move. And after that happened, I realized that I was missing out on my life and that I was not going to live like this anymore. So I decided that I was going to figure out how to properly overcome anxiety, and it didn't matter how long it took me or what I had to do for that to happen. I made a decision, right? And this is what I want to communicate to you guys. I made a decision that I was going to figure out how to quiet my mind, how to send my body the message that it could also feel calm and get control of my life. And for all of this, I was going to do it without medication or without doing any more band-aid solutions that wouldn't get me to the root of the problem. And that's when I started my journey, which got me to where I am today here with you, mommies, sharing my approach to anxiety. So this decision that I made led me to figuring out what I had been doing for all of the years that was basically wrong. And I'm just so grateful that I made this decision to invest in myself, because otherwise I probably would have still been in that cycle, spinning my wheels, trying all the different things, getting some temporary relief, and then feeling awful again. And so one of my favorite quotes, like Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. So even though I'm now able to deal with stressful things without it turning into anxiety, it took a lot of years to figure it out, a lot. I had to basically unlearn everything that I thought was the right thing to do, because I really quickly discovered how unhelpful those things were. I had to test out different approaches, ones that were scientific and ones that were alternative and holistic, to see which ones worked. And I basically struggled and struggled and struggled. There were points where I felt like none of the things I was trying to do were working. And I wish that somebody would just tell me what I could do without having to spend all this time and energy learning and studying and testing and trying to figure it out. So it took a lot of time, it took a lot of patience, and there really, I think, is just no way I could have arrived at the head heart hormone approach, which I'll tell you about a bit later, without having invested in my professional education with my master's degree, my education in holistic nutrition, and all of the trainings and certificates in mindfulness and mental health. So obviously it was a long road. It wasn't a straight road. But I think it was really because of my commitment to figure it out and my commitment for it to not go back to the way it was that helped me the most. So, what I discovered through all of the trial and error was that it wasn't that I was permanently an anxious person. This is what I want you guys to hear. Rachel, Andrea, Santa, Christina, it wasn't that I was a permanently anxious person, and it wasn't that I didn't try hard enough, and it wasn't that I even needed medication. What I discovered, that none of those things that were helpful, none of the things I tried were helpful, because I had these things called worry pathways running through my brain and through my body, and that was the root cause of my anxiety. So once I started to address changing these worry pathways, everything changed for me. And so what I'm going to do now is I'll share with you how I did that so that you can skip over all of that trial and error that I wasted so much time on. There is actually a very specific way to overcome anxiety without all of the hours in the therapist's office and all of the self-help books and all of the essential oils and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to share that with you guys now. So if you guys type yes in the comments, I'm back to the comments box. Let me know, type yes if you're still with me. Hi guys, I'm typing you now. Still here? Yes, Rachel's still here. Christina's still here. Andrew's still here. Okay, cool. We're getting to the meat and potatoes of this now. Yay. All right. So this is I want to say one of the most important things that you need to know is the core concepts, the root cause of anxiety. So I already told you that I did all this trial and error. You heard my story of anxiety. I was doing a lot of stuff at once. So doing too much stuff was causing me a lot of stress. And I know that you as moms are also probably doing too much. But here's the thing. That wasn't all of it. That's not the whole situation. My self-care was also neglected, as I know that you also relate to. So my physical health was starting to fall off, which meant that both my body and my brain were not getting what they needed to function properly. So my hormones were starting to get off balance. And as moms, our hormones, especially in the early days, are a little bit off balance, or not off balance. They're actually exactly balanced for how they should be in that stage. But they're changing really quickly. And so when we add stress and chronic stress and lack of sleep to the mix, then that can sort of make them harder to be balanced the way that we need them to. My digestive system was off, and my mood was affected by this. And even still, that wasn't all of it. I felt like I had to be perfect at everything. I worried that people would judge me if I wasn't, or that somehow I was unworthy. And these feelings came from my mind, and they weren't actually true. I didn't have to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect. People probably weren't judging me, and even if they did, another person wouldn't care. But I did care. So what you can see is that I had a few things going on. My situation at the time was stressful, my physical health was lacking, and my mind wasn't seeing things in a healthy way. So all of these factors worked together to cause my anxiety. It wasn't just one thing. So my mistake in trying to heal my own anxiety was trying all of these approaches that always targeted one thing or the other, but nothing ever worked on all of the levels. There was always something missing. So no wonder I wasn't getting better. That makes sense. Once I put it that way, I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. And I wish I would have known that sooner. So I want to introduce you guys to something called the biopsychosocial model of anxiety. I probably should have put that title at the bottom there, but you can see in the middle where it says mental health. This is a model that we're going to use to understand anxiety, but we can use it to understand postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, depression and low mood in general, and basically all of the stuff that's going on for us right now. So what you can see is at the top in the green is our biological side. And that includes our nutrition, our genetics, maybe we have a predisposition to anxiety, how our hormones are doing, what our physical health, like I mentioned my digestive system, that sort of thing. And then you can see, so that's our biological side. Then you can see in the sort of orange circle, our psychological side. And in this is where I was talking about my mind. So this is where we have beliefs about ourselves and about the world. So I mentioned I had this belief that I had to be perfect. Some people have a belief that, they have to fix mistakes that their parents made, and that they have to do things a certain way because if they don't, something will happen. These are all beliefs that are already in our mind, right? We also, from our mind, have coping skills, and some of our coping skills are helpful, but some of them aren't. And so, for example, one coping skill that isn't helpful is going online and doing a lot of researching to try to fix a problem. And I'm not going to be able to explain why that is, but I can just tell you that that's something that people do almost chronically, and it starts to be a coping skill that's unhelpful. Also, so our self-worth, how we feel about ourselves, that our emotions, if we've experienced any trauma. So these factors all play into the state of our mind, right? And then if you go into look in the blue circle, you will see our social and environmental situation. So this is our situation. This is how much support do we have? What was our childhood like? Do we have things going on right now that are specifically stressful? Some people, like COVID, for example. So you can check that one off your list. Some people are also having relationship struggles, financial struggles. So it's funny actually, because this one right here, if you can see, this is, I would say, where this current pandemic is really making things worse for everyone. But generally, like if you look at this biopsychosocial model, you can see that for the most part, you actually won't develop a full-blown anxiety just from the pandemic alone. What the pandemic is doing is it is putting stress on your current situation, which then you can see it kind of bleeds into how your mental state is doing and how your physical body is doing. And you might already have pre-existing things in these other areas that are also playing into the situation, like your beliefs about the world and previous trauma and your past experience and all these other things. So This, if you remember one thing, this is maybe one of the most important slides in this whole presentation, so that you understand that it is not just one thing. It is not just your postpartum hormones, Andrea, Rachel, it is not just that. And that is why time isn't repairing it. And this is why I get irritated at society for making it like postpartum anxiety is a result of having a child and a result of our dysfunctional hormones. It's not at all. It is a result of all of these things. And everyone has a sort of unique little puzzle. It's completely individual. And there's really almost no way to predict, but it's not just one thing. So, what this model tells us is anxiety is not from your postpartum hormones, like I mentioned. It's not just a chemical imbalance in your brain. It is the interconnection between all of these things that come together to create what I call the perfect storm. Nobody knows exactly how much of each factor will cause it because no two people's situation is exactly the same, right? Everyone has different genetics and a different childhood and different experiences. Even identical twins who share a lot of things have different personalities, different life experiences, which may or may not lead to anxiety. So the most important thing to remember is that anxiety is not caused from any one thing, it's caused from them coming together. So over time, and this is why time does not make it better. And I think, I'm sorry guys, I can't remember if it was Andrea or Rachel or maybe Anna. But yeah, this is why time doesn't make it better. Over time, because of how those three factors, the bio, psycho, and social, mix together, our system becomes very strong and very smart at communicating with itself in an anxious way. These are the worry pathways I was talking about before. So neural connections, and these are the cells in our body that run from our brain down through our spine and into our nervous system that basically runs through our entire body. Here, you can see it here, brain, all the way down through our spinal cord. And there's our nerves running from our spinal cord all the way through our body, right? Literally down to our toes from the tip of our head. This is how long these connections are and how interconnected our brain and body is. So what you can see that, sorry guys, got a little distracted. That this is what I was saying is that the brain and body are connected. These nerves run all the way from the top and the bottom. And here's the thing as well. You see this picture? Notice how, so the picture on your left is a sort of magnified picture of brain neurons. So what you can see is there's some that are really, really light, and there's some that are very thick and dark, like ones that are very prominent. I don't know. Can you guys tell me in the comments? I'm here juggling, changing, feeding. Okay, Anna, you're still here. Can you guys see my mouse, by the way? Like, can you see me moving my cursor? Because I'm sort of pushing it. Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So now I'm not like, look over here and you can't see what I'm looking at. Okay. So thanks, Rachel. You can see these really thick ones, these really, really thick ones. These are like the white, bright, thick ones in the front. And then in the back, you can kind of see these really thin, light ones. So these are the thing. This is the thing. Over time, the more we think in a certain way, the longer we have anxiety, the longer we struggle, the longer we cope in a certain way, the thicker our worry pathways become, the more efficient these neural pathways get at communicating with each other. Okay? And so what we actually kind of want is we want these little thin ones. These are like our calm ones back here. We want them to talk, but they're not very strong and they're not connected the same way that these thick ones are. And why? Because we use these ones all the time. They're like our default. I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but this is what I wanted you guys to just literally visually see in this picture. So the mistake that I made and the problem with most anxiety treatments is that they only focus on either your mind with therapy, for example, or your physical body by using aromatherapy or exercise or whatever it is. But every single approach is incomplete. right? Like, how can you just work on your body when your brain is doing all of this stuff? And how can you just work on your brain when it is so interconnected with your body? So basically, most approaches are incomplete. None of them take into account the perfect storm, the root cause, which is that biopsychosocial model, and the idea that anxiety is coming from different places all at the same time. And so, because of that, the only thing that will actually work is an approach that acts on the different parts as well. So what we have to do is we have to look at those thick, anxious brain body neural pathways, and we need to rewire them. We need to connect those little thin ones back together. And then that's the rewiring. And we need to tell our brains and our body that those are the ones we want them to use. Sounds simple, right? It is simple, but not always easy. Okay. So now you guys got the little biology lesson. So let's move on to core concept 2, which is why, and I think you've already got the idea of it, but why vitamins, more sleep, or essential oils won't fix things from the source, and what will. So this is a diagram that I really like. At first, I thought things would get better after I started getting better quality sleep. This is a big one that I hear. Once I start sleeping, my anxiety will be better. Or once time goes by and I'm out of my postpartum, my anxiety will get better. But once these things happen, anxiety isn't gone. It might feel less bad for a little bit, but it's still there. And so I thought that I was reading those self-help books and that would help give me more answers. But all they did was sort of give me a short burst of motivation, followed by no real meaningful change, which basically, like we were talking about, made me more frustrated and more anxious that I would be stuck like this forever. I was literally anxious about my anxiety. How's that for ironic? So then I thought that if I cut out inflammatory foods and foods that I was sensitive to, and if I balanced my hormones, that would get rid of it. And all these things did help for a little while, but inevitably I would return back to my baseline. And the reason that none of these things worked is because my anxiety had actually changed my brain and body. Over the years, I created those new default anxiety pathways in my brain and body that told me that I needed to worry about everything. So being anxious was my new normal. It was automatic, it was happening unconsciously, and only something that could get to the source would change that. And this is why none of those one-off things I tried for so many years helped. They didn't get to the source. None of them had the power by themselves to change these pathways that were automatically communicating with each other, basically whether I liked it or not. So I hope as you mommies can see that it's not your fault if you've been trying things and it hasn't worked. You're not broken. It's just that none of the things that you've tried were complete enough to really get to the root of things. And so you've probably kind of got the gist of this already, and you've probably maybe even experienced this yourself, that it won't go away on its own. And I can't tell you how many times I hear, once I start getting more sleep, or the time passes, or I just need a vacation, or once my job changes, or. And I want to be clear, like, these things are really important. I'm not negating the importance of sleep. I'm not great when I don't get sleep. If I don't get my vacation this year, I start getting cranky until I get a break. And I agree that it's not healthy to stay in unhappy situations for a long period of time, right? But because you've now learned that anxiety comes from all of these places to create the perfect storm, just getting more sleep or even the best vitamin or a vacation won't change that bigger picture of what's going on between your brain and your body. You might feel better, but the feeling doesn't last, and that's the problem. And this is how anxiety tricks us. Anxiety is a trickster. It makes us think that it might be gone, but then when times are hard, or another stressful situation happens, or we get less sleep again, then boom, it is back. So that's the mistake that I made, was waiting and hoping that it would just go away. I lost a ton of time that I could have been feeling better and doing nothing but waiting. when COVID is over. Yeah, totally. Like, and that's why I feel sad, right? And if you go back to that diagram with the biopsychosocial model, Rachel, like to your comment, that's exactly it. Is COVID is a stressor. It is really intensifying things, but it is not the creator of anxiety. So COVID will end, right? Like this will all go back to normal and our anxiety might feel better, but then something else will happen. That is inevitable. And then it will come back because those brain body, those worry pathways, they're still there. And actually the kicker of it is that the more time that we spend anxious, so like COVID, let's just say that it goes on for another 6 months and we're just waiting and waiting and we're not approaching those brain and body pathways, then they just keep getting thicker and stronger and more efficient at being anxious. So that's the thing. Our brains are really good. They're very adaptive. And what happens if we don't really work on our anxiety properly is it just adapts in a way that screws us over, basically. So take a look at this picture. It basically, I have an emotional reaction when I look at it. It's so sweet. It just, shows the vulnerability of that mom and the baby and how important they are to each other. That baby needs her mama to be healthy so that the baby can keep growing, so that they together can keep growing this bond that exists basically nowhere else on earth. Motherhood is a vulnerable time for anxiety to come out because if you had any of the pre-existing factors, so maybe genetics, maybe it runs in your family, or maybe you learned before in your life that you don't do well in the unknown, or maybe you have some type of deep down belief that bad things will happen, or maybe you're a perfectionist. And then you add on the actual physical brain changes that happen when we become mothers that makes us become more like mother bears for the safety of our offspring. Then you add on maybe some birth trauma or a difficult postpartum or a sick child. So layer all that stuff onto the mix. And then add on that new motherhood is also a time where we might be triggered by things that remind us of what our childhood was lacking. So then we try to make up for things. We put all this extra pressure on ourselves to be better or do differently than what we experienced ourselves. So if you look at anxiety, back to that biopsychosocial model again, you can just see that early motherhood is a very vulnerable time for anxiety to appear. We just basically threw more of those causes into the weather to create that perfect storm. Okay, guys, we're getting through it. Core concept number 3. Let me know in the comments. I see that you're all here and thank you for sticking in. Let me know if you're still with me. Is this making sense? And are you ready to hear basically core concept number 3 is how to get rid of these pathways, which I'm sure has been your question since I basically drilled it into you that was the problem. Let me know, comments, guys. Who's still here? I'm checking. I'm looking at the list. You're still here. Okay, great. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. We're getting to the main part now, guys. So here's the thing. Yep. Okay, cool. People are still here. Once I figured out that there were multiple causes of my anxiety coming together to create my own perfect storm, and that this had literally wired my brain and body with anxious neural pathways that were now my automatic default, I realized why nothing worked. It was because I approached only one thing or another and never my entire self at once, even though it was all being affected at once. And I also never did it in a methodical, purposeful way. So I was never able to rewire those brain-body pathways. All of these random one-off things I was trying weren't working because I always had at least one root cause of my anxiety completely uncared for and worried working against me. Those anxious pathways were always working in the background. So I evaluated everything I learned over 15 years in my professional education and training. I took what I knew were the best approaches from psychotherapy that were scientifically proven, And I combine them with what science says the body most needs to stop having a stress response to things that don't need to be stressful, so that I could actually rest when I wanted to and feel rested after, and so that my brain could get the nutrition it needed to do what it wanted to do, what I wanted it to do. Then I took a mindfulness practice and weaved it through the entire thing, because mindfulness, when we practice it in a certain way, acts on both the mind and the body. And once I did all three of these things, I took care of myself like a whole being, not just a brain and not just a body, things started happening. I started to be able to focus on one thing at a time without my mind going in 20 different places. I stopped waking up in the middle of the night thinking of all the things I had to do the next day. I stopped feeling afraid of what would happen if I did this or that, and I just did it because I was able to make a decision. I started to think about my response to things before I just reacted, which helped my relationships. And I regained my confidence and felt so much better about myself. So here's a part where I wanted to tell you a little bit about mindfulness-based interventions. And I'm not going to spend too much time on explaining what every picture is, but what I want you to basically know is how important and effective mindfulness-based interventions are. So you probably know that people have been practicing mindfulness meditation for centuries, but it's really only been in the last few decades that we've started studying it scientifically. And we now know that when mindfulness is practiced with a very specific methodology, it can literally change the structure and the function. So the structure, like what it looks like, and the function is what it does of our brains. Isn't that crazy? So that's what this little picture is. It's literally an MRI showing different changes in the brain over time when people did mindfulness in a particular way. And it even says like increased gray matter volume in the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe, guys, is our critical decision making. It's our logical reasoning. It's our problem solver. It's basically the part of our brain that we want to be online. And what this is saying is when you do mindfulness in a proper way, not that there's an improper way, but let's say more in a specific way, it will literally grow the size of your brain and the way that its functioning abilities. I find that so crazy. And this isn't just one study. This one that I'm posting here, this is a meta-analysis that combined the results of over 100 different studies. They all found the same thing. So I find that amazing. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, I mentioned to you guys in the beginning that I trained in this, and I did that because I think it's so amazing. It is a particular kind of mindfulness that is combined with therapy, cognitive therapy, hence the name, and it's specifically used for people with anxiety and depression. So these studies that I posted up here, it's just to show you that they have mindfulness-based cognitive therapy has been shown to be more effective than regular treatment like any other therapy, okay? It has been shown to be equally effective or better than medication. So I'm not sure if you guys heard that, but that is huge, huge, huge. Like basically you don't have to take meds if you are successful with mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. And not only that, but it helps to reduce anxiety and depression ever coming back. So we call that scientifically, it reduces the risk of relapse. And all of that's been proven scientifically. So this is why just doing random meditations, random mindfulness here and there, it will make you feel more relaxed, but it won't cure your anxiety. And so that's like, you can pay your $50 or, a month or whatever it is for these apps, or keep the free version, and just know like they will help you feel relaxed. You'll get a nice sense of sort of well-being while you're listening to it, but it's not going to cure anxiety. We want the meditations to be the right ones in the right order, tied into the concepts of cognitive therapy, so that you can learn new ways of thinking and you can grow those new calm brain body pathways so that those ones are your new default. Cool. So I'm not going to go through all of these studies, but it's just in case you want more proof. I've just posted study after study after study. So here's, whoops, let's go back to that one. I think this was for Andrea, Anna, Rachel. I think this will be specifically for you. Like, it's called Calm Pregnancy, results of a study using MBCT for perinatal anxiety. Perinatal means during pregnancy and after. So it's been shown, proven for there. What else? What else? Kind of trying to go quickly for this, guys, because I know that we started late and we're getting there. We're 2/3 done. So here's the thing as well. Okay, so we'll finish with mindfulness-based stuff and we'll go into nutrition. Science shows that our mental health is also drastically impacted by our diet and exercise, or I call it movement. And we know as moms that our physical body has taken a massive hit while we put ourselves on the back burner for everyone else. But by doing that, by keeping it that way, we're not helping our anxiety. And this is why it's so crucial that we work on our anxiety in this complete way. So you're just seeing more and more studies about, like, look, guys, our gut bacteria, our health of our digestive system influences our behavior, our emotions, our thinking. Eating well to help manage anxiety. Yoga for anxiety and depression, such as the movement. More science, how diet and mental health, the link between food and the brain. Just taking a drink, guys, so you guys can see, like, the science is there. And here's the thing is, although I'm talking about a holistic approach, what I mean by holistic is that we're taking into account our entire mind, body, and spirit, our whole self. But it still has scientific evidence behind it to show how important it is. So that's kind of what I love, is I don't always need science to tell me that something is good, but in this case, it's like I can believe that it's good and science also shows it. So how good is that? Okay. So here's the thing, is the main difference is just that nobody is putting these things together. I think people are starting to a little bit more, but definitely not in the mainstream system. People separate the things that need to be done together because they happen together. All of those things work together to cause anxiety. So how does it make sense that we separate them when we're wanting to work on our anxiety? So the head-heart hormone approach is what I created that finally healed my own anxiety properly by using psychotherapy in combination with mindfulness interventions, in combination with nutrition and movement, to literally rewire my brain-body pathways. So say goodbye to your old anxiety pathways, because once you have the calm ones, once we tell your brain to not use those big thick ones that are there now and to use the other ones, then those ones will basically always be there for you. They literally don't go away. And that is the difference when you get to the source. You do it once, you do it properly, and you literally change your brain body pathways forever. And this is the thing, is that stressful times are going to happen again. COVID will end, but something else will happen, and that's just a guarantee of life. So don't you want to have those calm pathways to be the ones that are your default? I want you guys to think back to my anxiety story. The worst of it that I had when I was anxious was luckily, before I became a mom. And it was because I had not just knew, but I had strong, calm brain body pathways, that when I became a mom, I was able to recognize that anxiety might try to creep in, and I was able to turn it around before I did. So this is the thing, is I still experience stress, but I'm in the driver's seat now of my own life. And so are the moms that do the head-heart hormone approach. Yay. So let's just do a really quick review of the core concepts before we wrap up. Let me know, guys. Are you ready? You still here? I see in the participant box that you're still here. Yay. Okay, let's do it. We're almost done. So To summarize, the root cause, you learn that the biopsychosocial model of mental health tells us that anxiety isn't created from just one thing. It's a combination of many things that come together to create your perfect storm. And no two perfect storms are the same. So it's impossible to know for sure if it will happen. There's no way to predict. There's nothing that you could have done differently. Okay? So in this part, you learned that an approach that doesn't take into account the different things that cause anxiety just won't get to the source, which is those anxious brain body pathways. So if you wait around to see if it will get better, it might be really upsetting discovery for you that years down the road that it didn't really get better. The anxiety just attached itself to the next stressful thing. So right now, your anxiety is saying that COVID is the problem. Or if it wasn't that, it would say that your postpartum hormones were the problem. But then it just attaches itself to the next thing. Now my job is the problem. Now whatever my child's illness is the problem. Like it attaches itself to the next stressful thing. So people, including me for a very long time, try and fail and feel frustrated and eventually think that it's part of who they are, which is false. But a holistic approach that does take into account the biopsychosocial causes of anxiety that acts on those brain body pathways will help. And in order to really conquer anxiety, you have to rewire those pathways so that the old anxious ones aren't your default anymore, but instead you have the calm, confident, and in control pathways that are your first line of responding to things, your first line of managing stress, and basically dictate how you think and feel and live in the world. And we do this by using the head heart hormone approach that combines psychotherapy with nutrition and movement and mindfulness in a specific way to support all of the aspects of you. Because you are a whole person. We are all whole people. The way to get rid of anxious brain body pathways and make new ones is extremely powerful because this is the exact method that I use. I use it with all my clients to help them overcome anxiety without all of those hours in a medical office or cutting out caffeine or reading all the books or doing whatever else that we do not have time or energy for. We are busy. So you guys pushed through to show up here today, even with the broken link and everything else, because I know you want to feel calm, you want to feel control, and you want to be present with your babies without taking up a ton of time that you don't have. You want a clear and comprehensive path to overcome anxiety without having to resort to medication or band-aid solutions. Or maybe you want to get off medication sometime in the future. You want to stop being stuck in your head and thinking something bad is going to happen. And you want to finally be able to quiet your mind so you can get some rest, you can feel more energetic, so you can be more present with your kids when you're with them and not miss the moments you have with them thinking about other things. So at the beginning of this training, guys, I made you a promise. I promised that I would explain to you how you can shift away from feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and anxious to feeling in control, confident, and calm with your children so that you can be the mom you know that you are deep down and show up the way you always thought you would. So here's the thing I want you to remember. Everything I've shared with you today isn't a random theory. It's not some idea that I think might work for you. Everything that I walked you through today works. It worked for me. It works for my clients who all started in the same spot you are in. And as you saw, there's a huge amount of science backing it all up. I'm not different, and the moms I work with aren't different. We all have really busy lives, babies or children to raise, spouses to be a good partner to. And if we can do it, if I can do it, if those moms can do it, I'm confident that you can do it too. You already know that you can overcome anxiety as long as you have accountability and you have a plan to follow. So you're basically halfway there just from learning this stuff. So here's the thing. Now you have power because you have knowledge. You have the power to change your situation if you choose to, and you have options. Yay. You may have heard either in an email or the Facebook group me mentioning, actually, I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, the program Braving Wild Motherhood. So this is a group, actually, it's not a group anymore. Well, there's a group coaching component, but I can share that with you another time. So it's an anxiety program that uses the head heart hormone approach that I told you about, that comes with a proven system, accountability, and support. So this program is how I help moms like you manage and overcome anxiety. So my question for you guys, if you're still with me, is would it be helpful if I took a couple more minutes to share how I support the moms that I work with? Let me know, Sana, Anna, Andrea, if you're still here. Oh, yay, you guys are still here. Okay, it would be helpful. Oh, please. Okay. Yeah, for sure. We can take a few extra minutes to do that. So what I'll do is I'll share that with you, and then I will give you that guide that I told you about at the beginning of the training, and I'll stay on for some Q&As if you want as well. Okay, so let's do that for the last 5 minutes or so. All right, so first of all, I'm really honored to be able to be sitting here talking to you about this in the middle of the day, and to share with you the best way that I can help. So what I actually did is I set aside some time over the next week to speak with you personally, if you think that that would be helpful, about how I can support you personally to apply what we talked about today so that you can get on your way to feeling calm and in control and present. And I do that with what I call an anxiety-free consult call. So what I love is that in this call, it's 45 minutes, you will gain so much confidence because you'll be able to see how this framework that I've been talking about works so well. And I think that you'll feel sort of at the end of the call that you'll be like, oh, I should have paid for that as a therapy session. Most of my therapist colleagues do charge for that, but the reason I do is because I just believe so strongly that all moms deserve to have a plan and to know more about things like Braving Wild Motherhood, and to know what will work for them. So I'm definitely not the only psychotherapist out there. There are a lot of people that are doing that, but my skills are specifically in working with moms struggling with anxiety who want to heal their anxiety holistically, but properly. The moms that I work with want to get at it from the source without the Band-Aid solutions, without going on medication or staying on medication. And they also don't want it to take up a ton of time that they don't have. So here's what I suggest to do next is what I'll do is I'll share in the comment box, I will paste it in there for you, a link if you want to schedule that call. Basically, you on the webinar are the only people that will at this point be able to access this call. And I'll also post it at the end for you. So if you hang on, let me get that for you right now. And then I can tell you a little bit more about that and about Braving Wild Motherhood. All right, chat. There you go, guys. So there's that link. So let me just see here. Okay, that's what it's gonna look like if you click that link now or at the end of the webinar. It just, excuse me, takes you to my online scheduler. Once you're there, you can just click that button that says book a call. You'll see a calendar. Click any of the dates and times, pop in your name, email, and phone number. And after you schedule, make sure that you get an email confirmation with the date and time that you chose. Make sure to put it in your calendar so you don't forget. And the one thing that I do ask if you want to use this free call is that please show up if you use it, because it's me and my time. And I don't have the time that I do have is sort of sacred. Otherwise, I would be spending it with my daughter. And if you don't use it, then somebody else will. So that's just my only ask of you. The calls are over the phone, so you can still juggle your kids and you can do what you need to do at the time. And if for some reason you can't find a spot, just email me, let me know, and I will find something for you. So from that call, what we're going to do is we will get really clear together on what you are struggling with and what your goals are. If why you want that goal, we will figure out and explore any obstacles and challenges that might derail your success, so that we can make sure that those aren't a problem for you. And we can talk about Braving Wild Motherhood and see if it might be a good fit and a good option for you. Together, we'll make those decisions if that is right for you, or maybe we'll point you in a different direction. This way, by the time the call is over, you will leave with a plan that will propel your success, okay? So let me know if that sounds good, if it sounds helpful. What do you guys think about that call? Would that be helpful for you? Are you interested? Should I look for a call from you? Let me know. It's not a commitment. Like, you don't have to tell me. Just let me know if you think that that's something that might be helpful for you. It's basically all I try to do is figure out what would be the best way to get you information and help support you. You're welcome, Anna. And so here's the thing, the call is free and there's no catch. The call is free basically because this is my mission in life. It's my life's work to support moms to have healthy minds in a way that doesn't involve medication forever or take up unrealistic time. And my core value is that my core belief in my practice is that I offer you guys value first. I start off just by helping you and helping moms with this webinar and with the call. The other thing is I know that there are some of you who are listening who want more personalized support. And if you're somebody who knows that if you are somebody who knows that in order for you to succeed, then you need support, then we can discuss next steps on the call to determine if you're a right fit. If not, it's no problem. You'll still leave with clarity and a plan, and we'll have had a chance to connect, which will make me feel good. I like to get to know all of you. So the only thing I'll say is the call is not for you if you're outside of Canada at this point. I am working on being able to support and work with moms like legally with my license outside of Canada. And actually, I just learned because of COVID that some states in the US, I'm so glad we connected too. Some states in the US, don't go yet. I'll give you that angry mom guide in case that interests you, Anna. Anyway, so also, I think if you're not really into mindfulness or nutrition or mind body stuff, if that's not really your jam, then it might not be for you. Or if you're sort of in this place where you just need quick, easy fixes, I think I've sort of explained to you that unfortunately that's probably not going to work. But it will be a good call for you right now if you live in Canada, if you're open to those things that I talked about, and if you're committed, if you want to get better, and if you're open to doing some work on that. I know you don't have any time, but because of that, I know that moms don't have time. And so I'm pretty efficient at getting people where they need to go on the least amount of time. And the call's for you if you are ready to start taking charge of your anxiety, not going to waste any more time, and if you want to get the joy of your motherhood back. So if this is you, if you want to sidestep those obstacles that are holding you back, then you can, I'm not sure if you can click that link that shows right there, but I'll definitely post it for you again. It's down here as well. I don't have a call center doing this, so it's literally just you and I talking on the phone, me seeing how I can support you. And that's it, guys. So here is the link to your, just after this, if you're able to stay, oopsies, I messed that up. If you're able to stay, then I can just go through a few Q&As with you. but since you stayed for this long, you hung in there. Here is your Angry Mom bonus guide. So just click on that link, guys, and you'll be able to pull it up. And what else can I tell you? So if you're still here, here's a few questions that people generally ask me. So question number 1, how are things set up and what do I get if I join? Okay. So the program, I'll tell you about it in a little nutshell if you want. The therapy sessions are held over video. There is an online learning hub with over 60 holistic nutrition recipes. All of your mindfulness meditations are there, your audio lessons, worksheets. There is a Facebook group with weekly group calls that are in addition to the therapy sessions. There's basically all this extra stuff that you don't get in therapy. It's made so that you can get all the information in really small chunks instead of having to go back and forth between therapy and pay for all that sessions. You can just do that on your own time because you don't have that much time, so it needs to be convenient. So this is the learning hub. That's the online place where everything is. To me, it's the best thing ever. It's simple. You don't have to waste time searching through emails for worksheets. It's very clearly laid out. It's very easy to use, and it's basically yours to keep as long as the hub exists. So after the program is over, you can have it as long as you need to work on things. You heard me mention holistic nutrition recipes. So these are all yours to download from the hub as soon as you get access. They're all designed to be anti-inflammatory. There are no ingredients that people might be sensitive to. They're gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free. There are snacks, breakfast, lunch, dinners. You get the idea. So that's kind of a really, really high-level overview of all the things you get. Another question people ask me is, what do I need in order to be able to do the program? Okay, so you need to have access to the internet. You need to have like a computer, iPad, or phone for video calls. You need to have about an hour once every other week for 10 weeks for our therapy sessions. You could also decide to do it once every week, and that's something we would decide together on the phone call. And then you need to be able to schedule in a little bit of time, several days a week, to do some of the home practice. The amount of time is different each week, and there aren't rules to when or where or how you get that time in. So the thing is, when you work on anxiety, no matter what, it's going to take some amount of time. And I know moms don't have a ton of time. So the way this is set up is that you can take as little time as possible, and you can do it when you have the time instead of being on somebody else's schedule. You don't have to shower before brushing your hair or teeth is not a requirement. PJs are optional. Breastfeeding is encouraged. You do whatever you need to be comfortable and just present to work on yourself. This is really a time to commit to yourself. So when it comes to therapy, like I said, this is the most time efficient therapy you will ever get. With every other therapy for anxiety, you have to get ready, you have to leave the house, you have to spend the hour learning the concepts that we teach you in the Learning Hub. Then you go home, you practice it all, and then you go back to discuss. So you can see how that is really not time efficient. Braving Wild Motherhood essentially cuts out half of the therapy sessions by giving you all the information you need at home so you can do it whenever you have time on your schedule. It was literally designed with mothers in mind. And that was actually the initial name of it, was Mamas in Mind. But then I thought that Braving Wild Motherhood was more appropriate. So question number, what else? 3, people ask a lot, I'm not sure about doing a group program. Is there individual options? So in response to that is I actually changed it. So it did used to be a group program. Now it is an individual one-on-one program. So you have your therapy sessions and they are private. And the part that is a group is twice a month, we run open group sort of coaching or office hours calls. That is in the private Braving Wild Motherhood group. And that's an opportunity to get more questions answered in between your sessions and not get stuck. So you have your private sessions where you don't have to worry about your privacy in any way. And then on top of all of that, and you have your optional group sessions for, you can attend those as much or as little as you want. Andrea, are these Q&A for the Angry Moms? So these are the Q&A for the Braving Wild Motherhood program that I was talking about sharing a little bit about with you before. I'll just do it in sort of Q&A style. Thanks. Yeah. And that's the head heart hormone approach is what I teach in Braving Wild Motherhood. The Angry Moms guide is just a little bonus extra that is just for you guys to say thanks for coming. So that's a separate thing. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I just find it sort of easier to talk about it in terms of like questions answer rather than just like blah, blah, this is it. But if you book a call, then obviously we would go through all of it if it's something that you wanted to know about, if we decided that this was a good choice for you. Okay. So that's about that part. I don't have any childcare, but I really want to do this. Is it still an option for me? Yes, 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 yes. That's the best part of all of this information in the learning hub for you to work on in your own time when we aren't together. You do it when it's best for you, and that way you can take care of your babies while you take care of yourself. So on the video sessions, I do try to recommend that you see if you can get some help for them, just so that it's time for you to really focus on yourself and really learn and talk. And it's really only for that 1 hour once a week or every other week. And if you can't get support, if you can't get childcare during that time, then you just come anyway and we figure it out. I'm totally used to breastfeeding and toddlers running around and all of the stuff. So this is not to be a barrier for you guys like childcare. We will get it figured out and you will get support no matter your situation. So I'm very, very strong about that. That is not a barrier for you, okay? Another question people always ask is, or often ask, is my doctor or somebody says that I need professional treatment for anxiety. Does this count even though it is holistic? So yes, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. All of the things that we use are evidence-based and they're scientifically proven. So yes, it counts if that's been recommended for you. Whoops. Decided to turn my video on for the last part of this, guys. Another question people ask is, I'm taking anxiety already. Can I still do the program? The answer is yes. So I've talked a lot about, you know, you can do this to not be on medication or do this to get off of medication. This program is gentle. It is meant to support anyone, no matter like what stage of the process you're in. If you are in your early postpartum, if you are years later as a mom and you're still struggling with anxiety, if you are on medication or not, it is safe, it is gentle, it is supportive and all inclusive. So don't let that be a barrier for you either, okay? And the last question before I stop talking your ear off is, I'm pregnant or planning to be pregnant, or I'm doing IVF, or I'm breastfeeding. Can I still do this program? And my answer is yes. Same thing. It's gentle. All of the nutrition is completely safe. It is supportive. It can do nothing but help your journey no matter where you are in it. So here to give you some context is I actually have what's called like a step up anxiety program. And that is for women who really sort of want to attack very stubborn anxiety that's been going on for years. And that program would not be for you if you are pregnant or perinatal or IVF or like that sort of thing, because it can actually be stress inducing. And I wouldn't have anyone do that program until they've done this one anyway, because you need to know this stuff before you do anything else. So this is basically the starting point for a lot of people. It's the ending point. It's all that they need. And it's safe and all inclusive, which is one thing that I love. Do you guys have any more questions? So I'm just looking at the comment box again. Hi, Krista. I saw somebody new joined. I'm so glad you were able to still pop on. Wow, I'm a little talked out. You guys, I probably melted your brains a little bit too, if the weather hasn't. Thank you. Thank you for staying. There's me pregnant. I missed that a little bit. If you haven't booked a call yet, no problem. You can still book it. You can book it now. You can book it tomorrow. But I just really suggest, like, you don't have to know, like, anything. You can still book it. It's just a chance for you and I to talk. Get to know your situation a little bit better, get to know what things are like timing wise for you. Maybe like, would this be helpful? Would it not be? Whatever. I posted the link in the comments for you again, so you can click it. That's it. Mommies, Andrea, Anna, Krista, you're here now. Santa, a few people had to leave. But thank you for staying. Thank you for messaging me and finding the link to this webinar. I'm so glad that you were able to come. I hope it was helpful. You probably don't care, but just so you know, there's like pages and pages of references of all the science that I put up for you. I'm happy to share that if you ever wanted to see anything after. I'm literally full of resources. Just let me know. Thanks for that great presentation. Continue. Yeah. You're welcome, Andrea. Thanks for staying, and I hope it was helpful. And I'm here if you have any questions. I'm going to come off of the webinar now, but you know how to find me. You can PM me. You can message me in the group. You can email me, and you can book that call. I hope to talk to you guys. Okay? Take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.